The stars above Galaxis Prime glittered like cold diamonds, watching silently over the grand capital of the Galactic Union. Orbiting in space was the Council Hall, a massive transparent dome that hung like a jewel in the void. It shimmered with the energy of thousands of species gathered under one purpose: peace, or so the stories claimed. Inside the dome, the atmosphere was tense. Rows of high-backed seats floated in curved rings, each occupied by representatives from across the galaxy: insectoids from Varric, plasma beings from Zalora, tree-like philosophers from Thren, and dozens more. All eyes turned to the central platform. Today's session wasn't just another trade negotiation or border dispute. It was about Earth. A soft chime echoed, signaling the start of the session. The dome dimmed. A single spotlight lit up the raised circle in the center. A tall figure stepped forward, draped in long silver robes. His eyes were hard, his voice smoother than ice. High Chancellor Vornak, leader of the Ilarian Empire, known for order, discipline, and control. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, he began. Today we face a difficult but necessary truth. The room hushed. The Chancellor's voice, amplified, carried a chill. The species known as humans, recent members of this council, carry with them a legacy soaked in blood, centuries of war, destruction, and chaos. Even now they expand rapidly, reaching for power and influence. Can we trust them with a vote equal to our own? A murmur spread across the hall. A few delegates nodded. Others looked uncertain. Some simply stared ahead, unreadable. Vornak continued, his tone sharp. Let it be clear, this is not personal. This is preservation. Preservation of peace, of unity, of all we have built together. I propose a motion that Earth be removed from voting status and demoted to observer class until such time that it proves it is no longer a danger to this council. Another wave of voices rose, some in agreement, others in confusion. Vornak turned to the side of the hall. Let the representative of Earth speak if he dares. In the shadows beyond the circle, Alex Carter stood up. He wore a simple dark suit, no fancy cloak, no glowing emblems. His stance was firm, his face calm, but his eyes burned with quiet fire. He stepped onto the platform and faced the gathered species. I dare, he said. The hall quieted. Alex looked around slowly. My name is Alex Carter, human ambassador, and I understand why you fear us. He paused, letting the silence grow. Our history is no secret. We've had wars, terrible ones. We've split atoms and torn nations apart. We've destroyed, we've rebuilt, and yes, we've made mistakes. He took a breath. But if you believe that our past defines our future, then none of you should be here either. The Thren burned half their forests in civil wars. The Dravens nearly wiped out their moon colonies. The Ilarian Empire, he looked at Vornak, once enslaved 3 neighboring worlds, and yet here you all are. Changed better. Some delegates shifted in their seats. A few whispered to one another. We came here not because we're perfect, Alex continued, but because we want to grow, to learn, to contribute. We joined this council in good faith, and now we stand judged not for what we've done here, but for what we once were. He raised his voice just slightly, not shouting, but steady and strong. Is this council a place for old grudges, or is it a place for new beginnings? The dome was silent again. Chancellor Vornak said nothing. His gaze was unreadable. Then the council chairbot, a floating AI with 6 glowing eyes, drifted into the center and announced in a neutral tone, voting on the motion will be scheduled in 5 galactic days. Debate remains open. With a final hum, the session was dismissed. Delegates began to leave. Conversations buzzed through the hall like a low storm. Alex stepped off the platform slowly, the pressure of thousands of eyes lifting off his back. He didn't smile. This was only the beginning. He knew the real battle was just starting. The council hall was quiet the next morning, but the silence didn't last long. As the sun of Galaxis Prime rose beyond the dome, a soft golden light poured in, casting long shadows across the chamber. Delegates began to return, one by one, hovering to their assigned positions. Some greeted one another with polite nods. Others avoided eye contact. Alex Carter sat in the observation gallery, watching the chamber fill. He looked calm, but inside his chest, the weight of yesterday's motion still pressed down on him. Vornak's words echoed in his mind, a legacy soaked in blood. The thought made him clench his jaw. He stood up and made his way to the diplomatic floor. A few eyes followed him, some curious, others cold. A Thren delegate with bark-like skin gave him a respectful nod. Alex returned it quietly. At least not everyone saw Earth as a threat. Then the chime sounded again. The session resumed. Council Chairbot hovered to the center. Today the floor is open for statements regarding the proposed restriction of Earth's council rights. High Chancellor Vornak didn't rise this time. Instead, another delegate, a multi-eyed being from the Sorellan hive mind, floated forward. We calculate that humans possess a 73% chance of reverting to conflict within the next 50 cycles, it said in a digital tone. Historical patterns, emotional instability, and resource hunger remain strong indicators. Another representative, this one a crystalline being from Velkar, added, Earth colonized its own moon within 1 century of space travel. It built warships before it built peace treaties. That is concerning. Alex listened carefully, making notes on his datapad. He wasn't surprised. These were the same arguments that had followed humans since the day they entered interstellar diplomacy. War, greed, power. He stood when the council chairbot signaled his right to respond. Many of you speak of patterns, he began, but patterns don't define a species, choices do. He paced slowly across the speaking platform, not raising his voice, but making sure every word landed clearly. Yes, we built warships. So did most of you. Yes, we colonized space quickly, but not for conquest, for survival, for exploration, for hope. He paused and looked directly at the Velkar delegate. We also built peace treaties. We ended centuries of division on Earth. We now have one world government, one set of laws, and a council chosen by the people. You see aggression, I see progress. From the upper rings, a delegate from the aquatic planet Urel rose. What of your weapons, Ambassador Carter? Your orbital defense grids, your pulse cannons, your fighters? Alex nodded slowly. We have weapons, yes. Like every major power represented here. We don't pretend to be weak. But strength doesn't equal threat. It equals preparedness. After all, isn't it true that the Galactic Council itself is protected by orbital turrets and drone fleets? That silenced the room for a moment. Then came a voice from a darker corner of the hall, the Zaloran emissary, a shimmering mass of energy, pulsing with light. Do you deny your species has caused suffering? Alex didn't hesitate. No, I don't deny it. Humanity has made terrible mistakes. We've hurt each other. We've hurt our planet. We've lost much. But we've also learned. He walked forward, placing both hands on the edge of the podium. My own grandfather served in the Earth Unification War. He saw the worst of humanity. Greed, hatred, division. But he also saw what came after, unity, healing, and rebuilding. I stand here because my generation is different. We had to be. We were born from the ashes of what came before. There was quiet, not agreement, not applause, but quiet. It was a start. After the session, Alex stepped into one of the council's outer corridors. Marble floors stretched under soft artificial light. Delegates passed him, most without a word. But then, a soft voice called from behind. Ambassador Carter. He turned. A tall, blue-skinned alien, with glowing yellow eyes approached. She was from the Theran Harmony, a peaceful race known for their wisdom and long memories. I heard your words, she said. They carried weight. Thank you, Alex said, tired but sincere. I hope others felt the same. She tilted her head. Many still fear you, not because of what you said, but because they believe you said it too well. Power in speech is often mistaken for danger. Alex nodded. Then I'll keep speaking, until they understand it's not a threat. It's a promise. She gave him a small, respectful bow and walked away. Later that night, Alex sat alone in his quarters, aboard the council station. He looked out the large viewing window at the stars. Earth was a small blue dot in the distance, barely visible, but it was home, and it was worth fighting for. He didn't know if he could sway the entire council, but he knew he had to try, not just with facts and logic, but with truth, with heart. He tapped a message on his datapad, a short note to his daughter back on Earth. Big day, told the truth. Some listened, some didn't. I'll keep going. He stared at the stars a little longer before turning off the light. The day after the second debate, a rare quiet fell over the Galactic Council dome. No official session was scheduled. Delegates used the break to meet in private chambers, review intelligence, and prepare for the final discussions. But for Alex Carter, the day was not a break. It was a reminder of who he was, where he came from, and why he stood in this place at all. He sat alone in his quarters, a dimly lit room overlooking the curve of Galaxus Prime. A mug of cooling tea sat untouched beside him. His datapad glowed with headlines from across the galaxy. Earth on trial, humanity's fate in council hands, Chancellor Vornak gains support. Alex closed the screen and leaned back in his chair. His thoughts wandered to Earth, not the political version that Vornak condemned, but the real one, the one he remembered, the one with mountains that reached the sky and oceans that moved like breath. The Earth of mistakes, yes, but also of progress, of dreams. A soft beat broke the silence. A voice followed. Begin personal log, audio only. The system chimed in readiness. Alex began to speak, not for the council this time, but for himself. My name is Alex Carter, Earth Ambassador. I was born in the Western Coalition post-unification. I never saw the wars firsthand, but my family did. He stood and walked slowly to the window. The stars blinked quietly beyond. My grandfather fought in the last major conflict before the peace accord. He used to say that war wasn't just about weapons, it was about fear, and that fear made people do terrible things. He paused, remembering the old man's tired eyes and the stories he told by the fire. He also told me that peace isn't something you inherit, it's something you earn every day. Alex tapped the wall, bringing up a holoscreen. A faded photo appeared. A family picture, a young Alex with messy hair, his late wife Mira beside him, and a little girl between them, smiling with missing teeth. Mira had been a peacekeeper. She'd died in a diplomatic mission gone wrong on a border world, caught in a crossfire of old hatred between two colonies. Alex had never forgotten what she told him the night before she left. If we stop showing up, they stop believing peace is possible. That had been 10 years ago. Now he stood here, carrying her belief. He sat down and opened a file labeled Historical Archive, Terran Conflicts. Maps of old Earth wars spread across the screen. Red lines, missile paths, collapse zones. It was ugly. No point in hiding that. But beside each war he added another file, the treaties that followed, the rebuilding efforts, the educational reforms, the global efforts to heal a dying planet. He would bring these tomorrow, let them see both sides, not just fire and ashes, but the gardens that grew in the ruins. There was a knock at the door. Enter, Alex called. The door slid open with a soft hiss. A short, feathery creature waddled in, holding a data chip. Message from the Theran delegate, it said in a bubbly voice. They wish to meet tonight, quietly. Alex took the chip and nodded. Thank you. The creature tilted its head. You are trying hard. Many here do not. Alex smiled faintly. Earth doesn't get to try a little. We have to try all the way. The creature blinked and gave a polite bow before leaving. Later that evening, in a private chamber beneath the council dome, Alex met with 3 delegates, the Theran Harmony, the diplomatic Ivorans, and the neutral Bent Saraki. Each of them had questions. Can Earth limit its population growth if it spreads beyond its home system? What about artificial intelligence? Do your machines have proper restrictions? What assurance do we have that humanity won't dominate smaller species economically? Alex answered each one patiently, clearly. He didn't pretend to have perfect solutions, but he promised cooperation, openness. He reminded them that Earth was not asking to lead, only to stand. The meeting lasted 2 hours. When it ended, the delegates left without comment. No promises, no rejections, just thoughtful silence. Back in his quarters, Alex sat again by the window. Earth was still a faint dot far across the stars, but now it felt closer, like a voice calling from home. He opened the last message from his daughter, sent just that morning. "Dad, my teacher says Earth might leave the council. Is that true?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he typed slowly, carefully. "Some want that, yes, but not all, and I'm doing everything I can to make sure we stay. Not just for us, but for everyone." He hit send and closed the screen. Then he whispered to himself, barely above a breath, "We've changed. They just need to see it." Outside, the stars blinked on, quiet witnesses to one man's hope. A soft hum filled the council hall as the final full debate session began. The light in the dome was dimmer today, casting long shadows over the curved rows of delegates. Conversations were quiet but tense. Everyone knew what was coming. In one more day, the Galactic Council would vote on whether Earth would remain a full member or be pushed to the side as an observer. Alex Carter stood near the lower level, eyes scanning the assembly. Every look, every movement, every pause told a story. Some delegates nodded politely. Others didn't meet his eyes at all. The mood had shifted since the last session. The room felt heavier, colder. At the center platform, Chancellor Vornak took his place again, robes flowing like steel. His long fingers rested on the edge of the stand. His voice calm but firm. "Council members," he said, "this is not an attack on a single species. This is a defense of balance. Humanity's ambition, while impressive, comes at a cost. Their speed, their technology, their emotional unpredictability, these traits do not match the pace of intergalactic harmony." He gestured toward Alex's seat. "Ambassador Carter is persuasive, but we must look beyond speeches and promises. We must look at actions, patterns, history, and history tells us that humans will push until they are stopped." Alex kept his face still, but inside his anger flickered. The speech continued, Vornak calmly listing events, old Earth conflicts, satellite expansions, mining claims on disputed moons. His voice never rose, but every word hit like a cold knife. When Vornak finished, he stepped back without another glance at Alex. Now came the second wave, the indirect attacks. Delegates from allied systems voiced support for the motion. The Dravak Dominion, the Iron Syndicate, and the cautious Tolari Union all took turns sharing concerns. One delegate said, "Earth's colonization of its own moon within a single cycle shows disregard for shared space." Another added, "Their artificial intelligence protocols are primitive. They lack control." Each comment felt like a slow hammer strike, trying to weaken what little trust Earth had left. Then something unexpected happened. The delegate from the Ularis swarm, a race of insectoid creatures known for neutrality, buzzed forward. Its voice was choppy but clear through the translator. "Once long ago we were feared too. Quick expansion, high numbers. We were called dangerous. We were nearly denied entry. But one species stood for us, supported us. That species was Earth." Murmurs rippled across the chamber. The Ularis delegate turned to face the others. "If we judge always by fear, we will lose many who might have been friends." Alex's eyes widened slightly. It was the first public defense Earth had received since the motion began. Another delegate stood, this time from the gentle Theran Harmony. "We've spoken privately with Ambassador Carter," she said. "He answered every question with honesty, even when it made Earth look weak. That kind of openness deserves trust." Vornak's face remained unmoved, but Alex noticed the small twitch in his jaw. Still, the support came too slowly. For every kind word, 2 more delegations whispered in doubt. Even some of Earth's past allies were silent. After the session ended, Alex stepped into the outer corridor and leaned against the wall. The long glass panels beside him showed a sweeping view of Galaxis Prime below, its cities blinking like a grid of stars. He heard footsteps, Turning, he saw Narration, the Ivoran diplomat, who had once spoken warmly of Earth. "I thought you supported us," he said quietly. She hesitated. "I do, but the pressure is growing. The Ilarian Empire has deep trade with many systems. They're offering incentives to those who back the motion." So Alex said, "Earth's future depends on who gets the better deal." Lara's face softened. "No, it depends on who remembers what's right. When the deals are on the table." She walked away, leaving him in the hallway with nothing but silence. Later that night, Alex met again with his advisors from Earth. They discussed strategies, reviewed possible last-minute appeals. But everyone knew time was running out. Only one chance remained, the final speech before the vote. It had to be more than facts, more than emotion. It had to be everything. Back in his room, Alex stared at his empty speech file. The cursor blinked, waiting. He opened his personal message app and read a new note from his daughter. "You always told me stories about Earth rising after every fall. I believe that story. I believe in you." He smiled faintly. That night, he didn't sleep. He wrote and rewrote. And when the stars finally turned toward the next day, he was ready. The council hall was full. No empty seats, no wandering minds, no hushed conversations. For the first time since the debate began, the chamber held a true silence. The kind of silence that only arrives before a final decision. The Galactic Council would vote today, but before that, each side would speak once more. High Chancellor Vornak stood in the center of the dome, hands clasped behind his back. His robe caught the light from the dome's skylights. The stillness around him felt planned, as if the room itself bowed to his presence. "My fellow delegates," he said, voice calm and sharp, "this is not an act of cruelty, it is an act of caution." He walked slowly as he spoke. Humanity has advanced quickly, too quickly. It burns bright, but uncontrolled fire often spreads. Their technology moves faster than their morals. Their ambition outpaces their wisdom. He paused to let his words sink in. "We do not blame them for their past. We fear for our future. I urge this council not to punish, but to protect. Let Earth remain among us, but in silence, as observers, until they prove they have tamed the wild spirit within them." He nodded once and stepped back. Applause came, not loud but enough, a show of support, of power. The council chairbot floated forward. "Ambassador Alex Carter of Earth, you may now speak." Alex stood slowly and walked to the platform. He had no notes in his hand, no tablet, just the speech in his mind and the weight in his heart. He looked up at the ring of alien faces, species from every corner of the galaxy. Some looked curious, others wary, a few looked away. "My name is Alex Carter," he began. "I stand here not just as Earth's representative, but as its voice, its memory, and its future." His voice was steady, not loud but clear. "You have heard about our wars, our flaws, our past. And yes, they are real. We fought each other. We nearly destroyed our planet. We let fear rule us for too long." He looked at Vornak directly, then back to the others. "But we changed. We learned. Not overnight, not easily, but through effort, through loss, through sacrifice." He paused, then spoke slowly. "My wife was a peacekeeper. She died not in war but in trying to stop one, on a colony world that wasn't even ours. She died for the belief that peace is worth fighting for." The chamber was still, even the chairbot floated slightly lower. "My daughter," he continued, "is 10 years old. She asked me if Earth would be kicked out of the council. She asked, did we do something wrong?" Alex's jaw tightened, just for a second. "I told her the truth, that we did do things wrong. But we're doing things right now. We're healing. We're helping. We've sent aid missions to 5 systems. We've built schools on worlds that once turned us away. We're not perfect, but we are trying. Every single day." He walked slowly across the stage. "You say we move too fast, but maybe that's because we know what's behind us, and we don't want to go back, ever again." He stopped in the center, surrounded by the silent council. "You call us dangerous, but I ask you, what is more dangerous? A species that believes it is perfect, or one that knows it must keep growing?" He raised his head, his voice soft but full of power. "We came here not to conquer, not to lead, just to belong. We came here to share what we've learned, to listen, to be better together." Alex lowered his arms and let the silence take over. He didn't need to say more. He stepped back, hands at his sides. The council chairbot floated upward. "The final vote will now commence." The delegates moved quietly. Each approached the vote node, a small crystal panel, and placed a hand, claw, tentacle, or limb upon it. One by one, green light for remain, red for remove. Alex couldn't see the results. He was not allowed to view the vote until it was complete, so he stood still, heart beating like a drum in his chest. Minutes passed like hours, then the chairbot's voice returned. "Final vote complete. Motion to remove Earth from full council status. Fails." A gasp echoed across the hall. "Earth will retain full membership." Alex let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Around the hall, a few delegates gave quiet nods. Some looked disappointed, others looked relieved. Vornak's face remained cold, but he said nothing. He simply turned and walked out. Alex stood alone for a moment, before the crowd began to move. Later, back in his quarters, he watched the stars again. They looked the same, still, cold, distant, but now they also felt different. Not just unreachable lights, but open doors. He tapped a message to his daughter. "We're still here," and they listened. The vote was over. The council chambers had emptied, but echoes of the final decision still lingered in the air. Earth had survived, not through force or manipulation, but through voice, through truth, through one man's willingness to show his people, not as monsters or saints, but as something far more real, imperfect, yet trying. Alex Carter stood alone on the council floor. The soft hum of the dome's energy field buzzed faintly above him. He looked up at the clear ceiling where the stars still blinked, watching from the void. The same stars that had once seemed unreachable, now looked closer, warmer, like they had listened. A soft sound broke the silence. It was the familiar whir of the council chairbot as it floated gently toward him. "Ambassador Carter," it said in its even mechanical voice, "the vote outcome has been officially recorded in the Galactic Archives. Earth's status remains unchanged." Alex nodded. "Thank you. You may access the voting breakdown if you wish." He hesitated, then shook his head. "No, I don't want to see who doubted us. It's done now." The chairbot paused, a rare sentiment among representatives. "I didn't come here to count enemies," Alex said quietly. "I came here to change minds. One is enough." The bot gave a low acknowledgement tone and floated away. Alex remained for a few more minutes. He walked slowly across the platform one last time, letting his hand run along the smooth edge of the speaking podium. So much had happened here. Accusations, defenses, fears, and in the end, understanding. Later that day, back in his quarters, Alex prepared to leave. His bags were already packed. Earth had called him home. The next ambassador would be chosen in a few months. The council wanted fresh rotation, and Alex was tired, not of the mission, but of the pressure. The fight had been worth it, but it had taken its toll. He looked around the room one last time. He'd spent weeks here, sleepless nights, long calls with Earth, difficult meetings, and careful planning. But this room had also held hope, letters from home, words from his daughter, and dreams of something better. A message pinged his console. It was from Lara Sen, the Iveron delegate, who had once doubted him. She wrote, "Alex, I voted for Earth. You earned it, not by hiding your past, but by showing your future." "Lara," he smiled, then opened another message, this one a recorded video. The face of his daughter appeared on screen. Her dark hair was pulled back, and her smile was wide with excitement. "Hi, Dad. We watched the council broadcast at school. You were amazing," my teacher cried. She said she never heard a human speak like that before. "I told her you always talk like that, when you're serious anyway." She laughed, then added softly, "I'm proud of you, Dad. Come home soon. I want to look at the stars with you." The screen faded to black. Alex stood still for a moment. He felt something deep inside, not pride, exactly, Not relief either. Something quieter, something solid. Peace. He took one last look out the viewing window. Earth was still a blue dot in the far distance, but now it wasn't alone. It stood among many, seen, heard, belonging. He placed his hand against the glass, closed his eyes, and whispered to the stars, "We're not perfect, but we're here." Then he turned, grabbed his bag and walked out. No banners, no applause, just a quiet hallway and his steady footsteps. But in that silence, an echo remained. The echo of a voice that refused to stay silent. A voice that reminded a galaxy that even those with a broken past can rise, speak, and be part of something greater.